Well, hello, Robo Lawyer. We're back again. We didn't get a chance to make any commentaries last week. It was a busy old week, wasn't it? So, what we're going to do today, we might talk about the two topics which we've since covered in the course. And those topics are the law of trusts and an introduction to the idea of the corporation. You've got a friend with you. Oh, Pencil Dog's back. Your friend Pencil Dog. We call him Pencil Dog because his nose has got a pencil in it. Okay. I hope Pencil Dog doesn't cause us too much trouble. What's that, Robo Lawyer? He's good. Well, first of all, we looked at the idea of a trust, and the whole idea of the trust is based on the separation of the ownership of property. That's right, Robo Lawyer, into the legal ownership and the beneficial or equitable ownership. And the trustee has the legal ownership of the property, and the beneficiaries, they have the beneficial or equitable ownership of the property. And the beneficiaries have certain rights, and the trustee has certain rights to deal with the property. And trusts can be set up by the inter vivos. That means when people are alive, and generally they're express trusts where people have deliberately set them up, or they're testamentary trusts where take effect after a person's died, and it's a way of handling the estate of a deceased person. What's that, Robo? You've heard that sometimes trusts don't work. Courts say they're not valid. Well, that's true because people sometimes contest the setting up of a trust because if the trust fails, the property doesn't go to the beneficiaries in the trust, it may go to other people, other residuary legatees. And so the courts always look for the three certainties in setting up a trust. What you know that what they are now. What's that? The first one, the certainty of the intention to create a trust. And the next one was what? Certainty of the identity of the trust property, so the court can specify. And the other one is the certainty of who the beneficiaries are. Again, we need to be able to specify that. So basically, that's trusts in very simple nutshell. Look, yeah, I know some students have been asking me about all the reading in those resource materials about trust. Well, that's meant to be a reference. In fact, you'll find simpler treatments of trusts in Australian Commercial Law by Turner. There's a chapter on trust there which sets out the concepts fairly straightforward, and in any other business law textbook I'd expect there to be a treatment of the law of trusts. We need to know basic concepts and ideas, the parties to a trust, types of trust, those sorts of things, duties of trustee. That's right, the fiduciary relationship that a trustee has in relation to the beneficiaries and the trust property. The other one, week 3, we introduced the idea of the corporation as a non-natural legal person. That's that. You're wondering whether you're a non-natural legal person. I think that's a very difficult question, Robo Lawyer. I don't think we need to go there at the moment at all. But a non-natural legal person is an entity which is recognised by the law as having a separate existence, personality, and the law gives it certain capacities, like the capacity to own property, sue and be sued, and those sorts of things. And yes, there were a lot of overheads for those chapters, weren't there? And what I did was I actually tried to make a compilation of some of the main points because it would take forever to go through them all. And chapter 1's very much an overview, and people get introduced to a whole lot of things, and then they get all might get a bit muddled up. So I'd actually encourage people to go back and look at chapter 1, right at the end, or later on when they can see how things fit together. But the idea of the corporation being a separate legal entity, that Mr. Salomon's case, that's right, a very important case, and the corporation being separate from its controllers, a very important idea, yes, and the idea of the corporate veil, what's that, hiding behind the corporate veil. Pencil Dog's hiding from me there. You're not a corporate veil though, Robo-Lawyer. And then sometimes the law allows the corporate veil to be lifted. That's another important idea. What's that, Robo-Lawyer, about the homework? Well, in the past some students have asked about, look, what sort of questions do we have to be able to handle, what sort of concepts do we need to take away from the topics each week. So what I've done is I've actually picked out a few of the questions from the problem sets at the back of the textbook, and I put them up there and said they're homework, and we've got the solutions to them and guidance. So I'd certainly encourage all students to consider them, look at them, try them, and make sure they're familiar with the material addressed in them. Even if, that's right, Robo-Lawyer, even if I hadn't covered it in the lecture. Now that's very important because it's an open book exam. Sometimes in the lectures we don't cover everything in the detail which we perhaps could, but where people are directed to look at particular topics, I think the one I said was holding companies and subsidiary companies, and the definitions, that's fairly important. The other definition which is fairly important is the difference between a corporation and a company, because all companies are corporations, but all corporations are not companies. Companies are actually a subset of a set of corporations. This thing to look at in the Corporations Act is that some sections refer to companies, some sections refer to corporations, and that's what makes the difference. Right, so yes, there is a lot of material. It's a very wise idea to have the full legislation, because the extracts from the legislation in the back of the textbook are not particularly helpful. They're very much abridged and they leave parts out. So yes, I'd expect all students to have access to the full legislation. Yes, they need it for their assignment. Have you started on your assignment yet, Robo-Lawyer? Right. So I think we've covered those topics reasonably well, haven't we? People should be able to do something with them, I hope. Okay, well, we might say goodbye for this week, won't we, Robo-Lawyer? We'll say goodbye, Robo-Lawyer. Goodbye, Pencil Dog. You were very good today. You've been extremely well behaved, so that's really good to have you there. Very good. Well, we'll sign off now, and yes, I know there was a lot of material this week. I thought we got through most of it quite well, right? I think we did.